Top stories. The Prime Minister calls into focus employment policies as it relates to vaccination. Businessman complains about a problem with an illegal structure erected next to his establishment, but the planning department says they are ready to take action. And in sports, St. Kitts and Nevis qualify for the next round of Qatar 2022 World Cup qualifiers. The details coming up.
Welcome to the SK Newsline in Newscast. I'm your presenter, Andre Huey.
The vaccination policy positions adopted by major private sector employers has caused some disagreeing in discussions on social media. But while government views vaccination as a way out of COVID-19 economic strangulation, the Prime Minister believes policies must be reasonable. SK Newsline's Glenn Bart takes a closer look at this issue.
The matter of the security of worker employment for persons not vaccinated against the COVID-19 virus has been of interest in some quarters as some private sector companies began formally indicating that vaccination was non-critical corporate policy. But on radio talk shows, several persons have voiced strong disagreement with such policies, believing them to be veiled threats to their employment. The Chamber of Industry and Commerce strongly supports the government's efforts to achieve herd immunity through immunization, and government has indicated they are encouraging everyone in the public sector to get vaccinated as well. In previous statements, various ministers of government have said they cannot disagree with a company taking vaccination as an important requirement of employment. Quizzed on this aspect of the vaccination effort, Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris said vaccination is about safety and about enabling the economy to rebound.
We make the point that for safety in the workplace, everyone should be encouraged to be vaccinated. We make the point that those who are at workplaces who are vaccinated, they are in fact concerned that some of their fellow workers, for no good reason known to them, have determined that they will not take the vaccines. They will not afford themselves of the protection, and therefore that refusal would put every other employee at risk. So there has to be a balancing act. Clearly, every employer must undertake such actions that are reasonably required to protect the safety of his or her workplace. The government has never had any meeting with any private entity in which they discuss their specific initiatives to, as it were, deal with the situation of hesitancy at the workplace. We encourage every employer to do their utmost best to ensure that every employee is vaccinated. Similarly, the government itself has urged all of its employees to get vaccinated, to protect themselves, to protect their families, to protect their co-workers, to protect all of us, and eventually to help us get the economy back on a proper footing in the not-too-distant future.
Notwithstanding the government's push towards vaccination, Prime Minister Harris said the government would not support worker injustice and said the Department of Labor had no complaints from any worker on record regarding vaccination. Glenn Bart, SK Newsline.
A businessman complains about a problem with an illegal structure for the past 6 months erected next to his establishment, but the planning department says they are ready to take action.
It's been 6 months since Romain Belgrove, the owner of a tire shop in Camps, spoke to SK Newsline about a container placed precariously next to his business. That container structure is on the property of businessman Othniel Heiliger, who operates next door. Today, Mr. Belgrove is expressing frustration as, according to him, despite several attempts through the planning department to intervene, the container is still there.
I've been basically hearing the same thing over and over. Since about the 27th, I think, or December, the container was placed there, and about the 28th, which was a Monday, I called the physical planning unit and made a complaint about the container. They came, they looked at it, and they went and spoke to the owner. Then they left. Didn't hear from them. I had to call them again to find out what was going on. They said they spoke to him and they had asked him to remove it. Nothing though, he was still up there. A couple weeks passed, I called him again and asked him again what was going on. They're still saying that they spoke to him and they told him to remove it, and if he did not, they would have to wait him letters. Well, We in June now, that was since December. We know in June, as they say, 6 months later, and the container is still here. And basically, for the past 6 months, I've not been getting much communication or cooperation from the physical planning unit. I mean, every time I want to find out anything, I have to call them. Nobody calls me. I made a complaint, and nobody calls me and tell me what's going on with my complaint. I have to call them and ask them, what is the progress? And every time I call, it's sad to say that the people there on the top, every time I call, all they could tell me is that they just spoke to the gentleman concerning the container. Every time I call, they just spoke to him.
Mr. Belgrove said the situation is affecting his business.
Some customers come here and they heard the news interview, and they now come and they told me that they heard the interview, but they now seen the container for themselves, and they didn't know that it was so dangerous until they now see it. And the problem is that some of those customers, they don't return. I'm already having things difficult when I'm trying to make enough money to meet my payments. And when I now have customers see that container and refuse to come back because of a fear for their safety, that is putting me in an even worse position. How am I supposed to make money to pay the bank? I can't afford to not pay the bank. I have equipment, I have to pay for them.
SK Newsline spoke to Mr. Randolph Edmead of the Planning Department, who said that even though it appears that action on the matter is moving slowly, it is being addressed through due process. He said the department met with Mr. Heiliger after a stop order was issued. Mr. Heiliger, he said, issued a letter indicating that he would provide some engineering information to prove that the container structure is not posing a threat to Mr. Belgrove's establishment. Mr. Edmead, however, told SK Newsline that though the department felt the structure is posing a threat, they were giving Mr. Heiliger the chance to submit his information, but the time has now elapsed and the department will proceed to take action. Mr. Heiliger had previously refrained from commenting on the matter when contacted by SK Newsline. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.
What is the future of the SIDF? We have a report on that subject after this break. Elliot's Funeral Parlor is the first licensed embalmer in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have a friendly and professional staff. At Elliot's Funeral Parlor, we offer a wide range of packages from $6,500. Homegoing service at chapel, locally made caskets, tailoring of outfit for deceased of your choice, wake, overnight with slideshow, funeral, death announcement, obituary, booklets, family pin-ons, memorial books, preparation of funeral arrangements, wreath, fresh and artificial. For further information, call 469-3298, 664-2007 or 660-0186. Elliot's Funeral Parlor in Gingerland, Nevis. Dedicated to those we serve.
I need some veggies for dinner. Let me just check the amount of sodium in this can. Oh no, this is too much. Let me try our next option. They did say it's healthy to consume less salt. This is much better. I am salt smart.
Football is back, and the St. Kitts and Nevis Football Association will be bringing you live football on its website, www.sknfa.com, with Premier League Live. Without fans in the stadium due to COVID-19 protocols, you can now watch every single Premier League match this season on www.sknfa.com and click on Live TV. Games are shown live on every match day with halftime and post-game shows. It's Premier League Live. Commentary, analysis, action. Never miss a game.
Bless up, Dejo here, and I'm doing my part in the fight against COVID-19 by following all safety protocols and, most importantly, rolling up my sleeve for the vaccine. So I'm encouraging you to do the same, because that's our best shot of protecting ourselves, our family, and our friends. So don't wait, vaccinate. Let's roll up to roll out.
Auto Plus Car Wash, located on the College Street Gut, Bastyr, St. Kitts. Bring your car to Auto Plus Car Wash to remove water stains, wiper marks,
Get your doors, roof panel cleaned, seat floor mats, buffing, headlights, and engine wash. You get quality service at the best price at Auto Plus Car Wash. They really care for your car. Call 765-5140 or visit them on College Street, Bastyr, St. Kitts. Auto Plus Car Wash, where the service is number one.
Welcome back. The Sugar Industry Diversification Fund, SIDF, is likely to be on its final path to extinction as its role gets increasingly limited and other programs take over from an organization that had become the focus of strong political criticism in the past. Glenn Bart reports.
While the Sugar Industry Diversification Foundation, SIDF, remains as a legal entity, other programs will serve the country's development requirements as the foundation awaits final winding down, according to the statements by Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris. Speaking recently at his early June press conference, Prime Minister Harris said the foundation has certain assets and liabilities that have to be addressed, including what were considered controversial loans in foreign investment projects on St. Kitts.
The SIDF basically is on a phasing out, if you will. It has certain assets, it has a number of legal issues which are being dealt with. So SIDF as an entity remains. We have since in terms of the CBI program, what we call the Sustainable Growth Fund, which provide the vehicle for the contribution option of that program, which was formerly pursued through the SIDF. But the SIDF exists as an entity in law, and it has a board. The board is managing the assets and the liabilities of that particular foundation. Largely some legal issues involving the loan to Christopher Harbour and several other issues of that nature. The SIDF would have lent some resources, and those resources have to be recouped.
According to the Prime Minister, other options are now in play that will facilitate developmental projects for St. Kitts and Nevis.
Principal options available now in the program are the real estate option, the Sustainable Growth Fund option in terms of the donation, and we have introduced an alternative alternative investment option for real estate and other activities that usually or is expected to generate a framework, if you will, for public-private partnership in certain strategic investment in the country, perhaps in infrastructure and other projects that need to be undertaken.
The SIDF was established after the 2005 closure of the sugar industry and was intended to facilitate the diversification of the economy, but it had been criticized by the now-Team Unity political entities on the way the previous Labour administration interfaced with the foundation. Glenn Bart, SKN Newsline.
The St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labour Union is putting focus on occupational health and safety in the COVID-19 era. More in this report.
Occupational health and safety in the COVID-19 era is important, and employers should pay close attention to this, says the St. Kitts and Nevis Trades and Labour Union. First Vice President of the Union, Mr. Larry Vaughan, expounded on the nuances of work safety during the pandemic and how businesses in St. Kitts and Nevis can comply.
The union is a partner with the employer and with the government in making sure that workers remain safe, and not only that they are safe physically, but that psychologically they feel safe, that there aren't fears associated with going to work, being on the job, or even having a job. And so the total concept of occupational safety and health would be one in which we are looking at ensuring that workers are not only safe, but that they feel safe.
Genevieve Mills, a member of the union, also suggested considerations employers will have to make in a bid to improve workplace safety under COVID-19 standards.
And the realities of COVID basically escalate in some instances. The situation on the ground would change. And so the information that is being provided by, let's say, WHO and other international organizations, in this case ILO, that deals more intricately with the world of work and what in terms of safety on the job, would determine how employers should go about preparing their workspaces, to make sure that it is conducive, knowing that, like I said, we constantly have to deal with the reality of COVID, because COVID is not going any place. And so as it changes, they would have to, source the information. I'll go further to say, if there is legislation that deals with the protection of workers, health and safety legislation, it would make it, let's say, a lot easier and easier for government to monitor compliance and to make sure that these employers are adhering to what is expected from them moving forward.
The union said it will continue informing the public on the importance of this issue through the media. I'm Andre Huey, reporting for SKN Newsline.
When we come back, a look at vote buying in Jamaica.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
It's me, Mr. HE, and I'm here with one message: roll up to roll out. We all know how difficult things have been during this COVID-19 pandemic. While we continue to wash our hands, wear a face mask, and practice social distancing, how about we take it one step further and get vaccinated? Call the nearest health center to find out if you are eligible to be vaccinated. Or you can contact the Ministry of Health at any one of these numbers down below. Don't be discouraged by the negativity. We all have a role to play in protecting this federation. So, St. Kitts and Nevis, let's roll up to roll out.
Stay abreast with news on St. Martin with SMN News. Visit www.smn-news.com for up-to-date news, scoops, opinions, and hard-hitting facts. SMN News, we tell it like it is. Visit our website www.smn-news.com.
It's the new and improved SKN Newsline Android mobile app. With the SKN Newsline app, you can watch your news reports, the SKN Newsline Newscast, sports, special features, and so much more. You can also send us a WhatsApp or call us directly. Go in the Google Play Store, search SKN Newsline, and download the app today. The SKN Newsline mobile app. News on the go.
Junior, can get popcorn, please? Santel, Def. Want to plead? I can get some salt. More, please. Boy, take a popcorn from Junie.
Welcome back. For the big stories in regional news, we now have our Caribbean news segment.
The Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, says there is an urgent need to access COVID-19 vaccines, especially for Caribbean countries. Eyewitness News in the Bahamas reports.
Well, wishful thinking will not bring this crisis to an end, according to Pan American Health Organization Director Dr. Carissa Etienne. Her comments come amid what has been described as an urgent need to boost access to vaccines in developing countries whose cases are said to be on the rise. And the only way to begin to see an end to the pandemic, according to Dr. Etienne, is to secure more vaccine doses for all Caribbean countries.
We are very far from this goal, especially for the low-income countries that are still struggling to protect health professionals and those more vulnerable. COVAX has already delivered some 17.6 million doses to our region, but progress is not keeping up with the pandemic. Regional solidarity, including the donation of doses, will be key to get us through the current shortage of supply. Vaccine will save lives and prevent future waves. But for the current surge in infections, we have to deploy the tools that we have at hand. And lastly, let me remind you that public health measures remain the best way to save lives now.
A report from the political ombudsman in Jamaica decries vote buying in elections. Television Jamaica reports.
The review revealed that candidates in the 2020 general elections were pressured by vote buying. It's a practice which political ombudsman Donna Parchment Brown wants to be discontinued.
Candidates should not feel that they have to give things to people to get them out to vote. And people should not be pressuring candidates to say, I need rice, flour, sugar, cement, cash in a t-shirt to be able to vote.
She describes vote buying as a major disrespect to the political system and wants instead for Jamaicans to focus on the true meaning of voting. The report further outlined that a campaign should be launched in schools, tertiary institutions, and youth organizations to reach out to the youth to educate them on the importance of participating in the democratic process. Executive Director of the National Integrity Commission, Professor Trevor Monroe, believes it's a step in the right direction.
I think it would help, Sanjay, and it is something to be pursued. But I go beyond that. We don't need a campaign. We need, beyond the campaign, to institutionalize civic education.
In the meantime, there's also a call for the election process to be reformed. Political scientist at New Jersey City University, Dr. Jermaine McAlpin, believes more options should be made available when voting.
Persons have also expressed that we need alternate ways of voting, right? What about absentee voting? What about, early voting? Beyond those who are election workers and those who are in the combined military and police services, we do not have this option of early voting.
U.S. immigration policies have led to tighter border controls across Central America. And despite efforts by regional governments to curb migration, there is no indication that migrant numbers are declining. Al Jazeera's Manuel Rapallo reports from Guatemala.
The village of Agua Escondida. Here, poverty has forced many to migrate to the United States.
At the moment, the problem we have in our community is that harvesters are no longer yielding enough food.
Tomas Tolares says 3 of his 7 children have left Guatemala for the U.S., including his oldest son, who died in an accident 7 years ago after crossing the border. Tomas tells us a smuggler charged his son $16,000 to get him into the U.S., a debt that fell on Tomas after his son's death.
When my first son left, I gave him the title to this land. I gave it to a coyote, and then I had to pay off the debt in order to save the land.
Migration from Central America has been on the rise in recent years, but the journey north is expensive, and migrants are often forced to rely on moneylenders who accept collateral, like the title to a person's home, in exchange for cash. Despite efforts by regional governments to curb migration, there's no indication that migrant numbers are declining.
There's no way to stop migration. The only thing that happens when governments place limits on migrants is that it increases the cost. It's like drugs. If control on drugs increases, it just increases the price.
Guatemalan citizens cite extreme poverty and a lack of opportunity as the overwhelming reasons for leaving the country. But experts argue the government here is actually benefiting from migration.
Nearly 3 million Guatemalan citizens are estimated to be living in the United States, and the money migrants send back home as remittances now accounts for more than 16% of GDP, according to a recent study.
It's very comfortable for Central American governments to allow people to leave. It means less social pressure, less demand on resources, and remittances from migrants means more economic gains. In Guatemala, money from remittances already exceeds money from our principal exports.
Tomas Dolares says he too would pack up and leave for the United States if he could afford it. As economic conditions in the country only seem to be worsening, he's hoping things can only get better from here. Manuel Rapalo, Al Jazeera, Guatemala's Central Highlands.
The world's leading economies are on the brink of announcing an historic deal that would make multinational companies pay more tax. More from the BBC.
The world's biggest advanced economies are close to reaching an agreement on global taxation that will change the world, according to the German finance minister. He was in London meeting his G7 counterparts ahead of next week's Leaders' Summit. The plans aim to ensure that the biggest multinational companies, and in particular the major tech firms, stop exploiting tax loopholes. Our economics editor Faisal Islam has the story.
In a crisis, an opportunity for historic global change. The Chancellor's welcome, still from behind masks and with no handshakes, but this the first major in-person meeting of the world's most powerful nations since the COVID outbreak, ahead of the Cornwall G7 summit next week. All of the finance ministers here have been borrowing incredible amounts, trillions of euros, dollars and yen, to support their economies through the pandemic and have coffers to fill. And at the same time, COVID-19 has accelerated sales, profits and revenues at multinational digital giants who have proved difficult to squeeze taxes out of. So the world's big economies are deciding at this meeting to set a global minimum rate of corporation tax.
We are spending a lot of public money to protect our economies against the consequences of the COVID and to have a quick and very strong economic recovery. But we need money and we need new resources.
So how do you sell this within the European Union to your colleague, the President of the Eurogroup, the Finance Minister of Ireland?
I can understand the difficulty of Ireland and some other European countries, but when there is such an international impetus, this is in the interest of all 27 European member states to say, yes, we are on board and we are supporting this new international tax system.
It is the US leading the charge on this under President Biden's Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, a massive turnaround from the Trump administration, and those in the room say this agreement will be historic.
We will have an agreement which will really change the world, and we will be able to do what we have to do for our people, and this will be a turning point in global cooperation because the last decades were going into the other direction, now we are going into the right one.
The finance ministers will squeeze big global corporations with a minimum tax rate of at least 15% applying around the world. The crisis means they've got no choice. But in the fine detail of these negotiations, there's still a question about who gets that bounty. That's why the Chancellor's been cautious so far. Will it go predominantly in hundreds of billions of dollars to the coffers of President Biden from the US tech giants? Or can they agree that not just the profits, but the sales in, say, Britain from these big global tech giants can be taxed by Britain? Talks over making it compulsory for major companies to report on their plans for cutting carbon emissions are also on a knife edge. As one minister put it, if the West doesn't work together to set the rules for the 21st century, then China will. Faisal Islam at the G7 meeting in London.
St. Kitts and Nevis have progressed to the next round of World Cup qualifying after picking up a 3-0 victory at home against Guyana on Friday at the Warner Park. The confirmation of the progression to the next round was made on Saturday when Trinidad and Tobago, also in the same group as St. Kitts and Nevis, drew with the Bahamas 0-0, as they would have needed a win in that match to stand a chance. Keith Roy Freeman got the goal scoring off in the 9th minute for the Sugar Boys after Harry Panayutu was fouled in the penalty area. Freeman dispatched the penalty coolly in the back of the net. He then doubled the lead in the 36th minute when he flicked one beyond the Guyanese goalkeeper when a shot from outside the box came his way. Romain Sawyers made sure the victory was certain with a third goal in the 67th minute. The match was broadcast live on the SKNFA Facebook page and website. Here are the highlights.
St. Kitts has scored in just about the 8th minute of the game, winning the penalty. Well taken free kick. This one flicked on, looking for Keith Roy Freeman. He's trying to sprint on a bit of a tussle on the outside, picked up there by the man Malong on the outside. The shot will taken. Goal! Keith Roy Freeman flicking that one on, and then one playing past the custodian into the back of the net. He's had his second goal tonight, and this one coming in the 35th minute of the game. 2-0 in favor of St. Kitts Nevis. On the side, he's trying to take the man on the inside, on the top of the box. He saw your snap kick in the goal. Sawyer does it for Team St. Kitts Nevis. On the top of the box, returning a pass there from Sterling. Looked up, realized he had a bit of space, and he buried it flat and hard to the right of the goalkeeper into the back of the net. Team St. Kitts Nevis 2, 3 goals, and Guyana 0. That's the goal they were looking for there, Alistair Edwards.
Oh, that's definitely the goal they're looking for. The comfort goal, as I just mentioned. Well work from left to right. Went in the box looking for Freeman, but went over to Sterling.
Players congratulating each other. The score here at Warner Park is 2 goals to 0. St. Kitts Nevis has won at home against Guyana. A very good game for St. Kitts Nevis. We saw some counter-attacking football in the second half. In the first half, St. Kitts Nevis enjoyed 2 early goals from the boot of Keith Roy Freeman. He's probably in the shower right now and refreshing himself.
After the match, St. Kitts and Nevis coach Leo Nieva expressed pleasure with the result and the performance of his team.
It was a great victory. I'm very pleased with players' commitment. They are starting getting our game philosophy. But of course, we still need to fix some points to increase. And we are total focus for the next game against Trinidad and Tobago to surprise them.
Coach of Guyana, Marcio Maximo, in a virtual press conference on Saturday, said St. Kitts and Nevis deserved the win, but it was a very balanced game.
Look, like I told you before, you take the game by game, to improve the team. Yesterday you take some lessons, some different lessons. We still sometimes concede easy goals that not reflect the game, because the game for me yesterday very balanced, but we concede again easy goals in crucial times. But this time the experience gave it. Experience game by game, you give it to them more experience, and you reduce the mistakes for improve our team.
St. Kitts and Nevis will next do battle with Trinidad and Tobago, who have now been knocked out of World Cup qualifying for Qatar 2022 due to their draw to the Bahamas, a team St. Kitts and Nevis defeated 4-0 earlier this year. That means St. Kitts and Nevis will top the table with 9 points and will progress to the next round to face either El Salvador or Antigua and Barbuda on June 12th. Only one team will progress from the group, which comprised Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Puerto Rico, and the Bahamas. Notable as well for the Sugar Boys is the fact that they are yet to concede a goal in this round, scoring 8 goals in the process. The game against Trinidad and Tobago will be held on neutral grounds in the Dominican Republic. The team, officials and backroom staff have already left the federation. Guyana will remain in St. Kitts to play their match against Puerto Rico, which will be held at the Warner Park on Tuesday afternoon. The match on Friday was held under strict COVID-19 rules and was monitored by compliance officers from the COVID-19 task force. In a related story, Antigua and Barbuda recorded a 1-0 victory over Grenada in their World Cup qualifier last week to boost their chances to qualify for the next round. Terry Andrews of ABS TV reports.
The decisive strike came in the 20th minute when forward Peter Byers picked out English-based Sutton United's Rice Brown on top of the area, who made separation of his marker and fired home at the far post, hitting the upright before entering the back of the net. Byers should have made it 2-0 before half-time after receiving a through ball from midfielder DeAndre Bishop, who put the striker in on goal, but he squandered the chance. The Benner boys defensively thwarted every effort thrown at them by the Spice Boys. The Antiguans deployed the long ball direct tactic in an effort to turn the Grenadians' backline through forward Peter Byers. The speedy attack of the Antiguans threatened the Grenadian defenders sporadically, but could not produce more goals. With the win, the Benner boys are back on top of Group A with 7 points from 3 matches. Next up for the Antiguans, they will travel to El Salvador for a June 8th encounter against the host. Terry Andrew, ABS Sports.
In athletics, Jamaican Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce on Saturday recorded the fastest time in the world this year and the second fastest in history when she ran 10.63 at the Jamaica Olympic Association J3A's Olympic Destiny Series at the National Stadium in Kingston, Jamaica. More from TVJ and the Jamaica Gleaner.
Look at the world champion step away. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce comes across the line. 10.6 is the flash time. We wait to see if that is confirmed. 10.64 for Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. Wow!
10.63 seconds, the fastest a woman has run in recent times, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. Did you know you have this in you so early in the season?
Honestly, no. I wasn't coming out here. But first, I have to say thank God. Finish healthy, and it's about being patient and just enjoying the process. So about coming out here today, I never expected I would run 10.6, and I think it's a good thing because there was no pressure. I just wanted to get one run in before the national championship, and that's what really I was looking forward to. So for me, I just wanted to execute a good race, and I'm lost for words because 10.6 has been a dream, a goal. I've been working so hard, being so patient, and to see it finally unfold, I'm just ecstatic.
Congratulations, Shelly. You know, when you won at Doha, coming back from motherhood, persons thought that was your best. Do you think now that you can do more than the 10.63?
Well, if I'm able to run 10.6 now and the national championship is still some way, you know, honestly, I'm just looking forward to what the process will bring. I'm continuing the work because I did say that this year I wanted nothing more than to break the 10.7 barrier, and I did it, but you know, now the focus is on making the national team, then taking it from there. This is just one part of the puzzle, so you can't get too complacent and comfortable. So definitely looking forward to national championship.
Congrats.
And that will do it for this edition of the SK Newsline Newscast. For more stories, log on to our website, www.sknewsline.com. From all of us here at SK Newsline and Channel 95, I'm Andre Huey. Thank you for watching.